there's some, this question is about why not to teach literature in the writing classroom. There's some really good pragmatic reasons for not doing this, and there's also some really good historical reasons for not teaching literature in the classroom. That's not to say that it couldn't work out well, and in fact I've heard of some really good examples of people using literature in the classroom to teach writing. So an example of this would be somebody who would look at the manuscripts of a writer, say George Orwell, like 1984, and compare drafts to talk about revision. Take a look at the way that he made changes from an original draft to a later draft and talk about why he made those changes, what the effects of the changes were, and how that impacted the overall piece that he was creating. So that's one way that you could use literature in the classroom effectively. Another way that I heard of, a friend of mine created a course where they studied transcendentalist writers like Whitman and Emerson and Thoreau and things like that. And then he had his students go out into nature and write about the same sorts of things that those writers were writing about at that time. So two ways, I mean, that's to say you can use literature in the classroom in ways that are effective. However, the problem with using literature in the classroom is that it often turns into a literature course. That's the thing you got to be careful about. You got to make sure that literature isn't the focus of the classroom. You want to make sure that you're talking about writing, focusing on writing, and when you bring literature into the classroom, a lot of times that's what happens. You focus more on the critical reading than you do on the writing aspect. So that's a really good pragmatic reason why not to do it. It's because a lot of times you'll fall into that trap. And historically, this is one of the reasons why people avoid it, because typically writing programs are housed in English departments, and so historically you'd have people who studied literature their entire lives and were interested in teaching literature, and they were forced into what they would call kind of like a service course or something they didn't want to teach in like a first year writing class. And so they would use it to teach their pet projects, the literature that they like to read, the novels that they like to read, and they would turn it into a literature course. So this is something that we try to avoid as writing teachers. We try and make sure that we're not focusing on literature. Instead, we are focusing on writing. We're making sure that that's the main part of the writing course that we're working on.